Hey everyone, welcome to my tier list for Season 11 Smite. So this is my ranked tier list. I actually just hit GrandMaster for Season 11. So these are the characters that I've seen top performance-wise through all my games. So we're just going to go over each role, and I'll just go over kind of like why I think each character deserves to be where they are. So first things first, bans. Man, there's so many AIDS characters this season, but I think like in terms of the bans, I think if you're banning one of these seven, then I think you're good to go. Thanatos, I try to have banned every single game. That character just hyper carries. That character hyper carries every game. As a tank, it's so hard to step up and play with a 40% HP execute threshold on you. Charon's also really annoying. A lot of people have actually been playing him in mid lane right now, but he can still be annoying in support. I actually do think his strongest role is mid lane because the amount of damage he deals is insane, and you guys can thank Benny Q for that. Benny Q started that trend. Vamana, I don't know if you guys have seen my Vamana clip, but this character is actually really good, especially at lower ranks, because a lot of people don't really realize that you don't hit Vamana while he's ulting and they still keep hitting him. So because of that, he can kind of carry games. And I'll also explain why Vamana is really good here in a second with these other soul laners. Thor's been a top. Thor's just been a top band since like season 7. Bake, I think Bake falls off like late game, to be honest, especially if Bake doesn't go beads because he doesn't have a CC mute ult. But his laning is like uncontested, I'm pretty sure. So I'm not a solo main, but I talk to solo mains, and that character like should not lose lane if they know what they're doing. So in terms of the 1v1, this character is really strong, and you should be getting on a lane like 2 levels up. Sobek's super strong, has always been a super strong rank support. But this character this season is just absurdly strong. He is so tanky. He is so hard to kill. I've lost so many games because my carries can't kill their Sobek, but their carries can easily kill me. So this character is just like up there in terms of bans, in my opinion. Unless these characters are up, then I would ban these over him. And then finally Athena. I think honestly Athena's hit or miss. A lot of lower ranking players can't really play Athena that well. For some reason, they don't know to taunt the tanks. A lot of people don't know how to follow up off her taunts, so you could ban her, you can not ban her, doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna put her here because I do think she's still good and deserves a ban. So in terms of support, to be honest with you, a lot of supports are really good right now, but these are the ones that have worked for me. So first off, Ares is really good. Ares can go mystical mail, and mystical mail is actually a pretty strong item right now. I think they like reduced the cost. They did some buffs and tweaks to mystical mail. I think they also upped the damage by a little bit. And the fact that Void Shield's also back into the game, and both those are auras and add to Ares' passive, so Ares does even more damage because of his passive. So this character is actually really good right now. Very tanky, strong, and again, he just does a lot of damage because you can go mystical mail on him. This is what a lot of people are doing. Afro, she's just good from last season. Afro's just Afro. Now, these 3 in particular are characters I have the most success with. So Khepri, I like barely lose any games on him. Khepri, I think, is just like up there. He's always been an S tier character for me, no matter what the meta is. So he may or may not work for you, but Khepri, I think, is just really good. Ardio is really strong this season. So Ardio is another one I don't really lose with that often. And like Ardio and Khepri in particular, I like pretty much win on almost all the time, really consistently. But like Ardio, because like you're tankier this season because they remove class passives, so assassins do less damage because they don't have like base flat pen anymore. ADCs do less damage, mages do less damage because they don't have power or auto attack damage. Ardio takes advantage of that because she's really tanky. Like before she could actually die really easily, but now because they took all that stuff out, she's a lot tankier. And so like you're seeing Ardio kind of come back up in the support role, and she is really strong. Her cripple is such a strong thing. Like it's pretty much like Ares' one, right? Except it lasts for 6 seconds, and you don't have to like aim it to hit it. Like you're gonna hit Ardio cripple every single time in a team fight, right? Because it's just a circle around you. You don't have to aim it at all. So Ardio is really strong right now. I highly suggest trying to play her. If you can't play her, it might not work out, but I do think she's very strong. Last but not least, Ganesh. I think Ganesh is just obviously, we all saw him at Worlds. Character's literally insane. He was insane last season. He's insane this season too. So he just denies dive, and he's pretty much like the ultimate peel. But these are what I would suggest for support. Again, these picks and bans, these are kind of for like carrying games. This is what I saw out of all my ranked games, like what works for me and what I saw work for other people and what was really tough to play against. So These are where I would kind of like put these support rankings. Now, you could play other characters, right? Like Geb, like Eset, Fafnir. That's completely fine. Atlas too. Like that's fine, right? But these are just characters that I kind of see like consistently that are thorn in people's sides and that actually do super super well. ADC. So this one's actually really funny. ADC right now, I think we're in like this sort of hunter proc meta. So like AMC, Marty, these are like proc hunters. They proc Bluestone, they proc like Crusher and like all these other kinds of items, right? These tend to do the most damage. Actually, Uller feels really, really good right now. I've played a little bit of Uller, he feels good. I played against Uller, he feels really good. But I would highly suggest picking like AMC is really good right now, Marty's really good right now. And if you don't want to pick those, that's completely fine. Hachi is going to be your dominant hunter, in my opinion. I think Hachi has honestly been literally a top 1 to top 2 hunter ever since his rework. Like ever since they reworked Hachi passive, let him get more attack speed, get more like attack damage on the flag, all that kind of stuff. He has just been like the best hunter in the game, in my opinion. On her again is another great hunter, great 1v1 boxer. Cherno's I think just gonna be good. Jingwei is also just gonna be kind of like your hyper late game scale carry. I haven't really seen too much Jingwei, but the only reason I put her on this list is because when I was duo queuing a little bit, my teammate was playing Jingwei, and he would literally just farm everybody late game. Like we won 5+ games in a row with him playing Jingwei because he was just farming everybody with it. So that's what I would suggest for ADC. These two you can kind of take with a grain of salt, but definitely like these three, like your proc hunters, I think are are your meta hunters. And let me just shove Sobek and Athena to support real quick. Yeah, so let me just do this. Obviously these were 2 top bans, but I would also play these in support as well, right? If they're not banned, then Sobek I would highly like value and support right now. I think he's just that good. And then I think this looks pretty good from here on out. But okay, so that's ADC. And now we're going down the mid lane. So mid lane, I would move these 3 ADCs to mid as well. Like so AMC, Marty, even Uller, but AMC, Marty in particular, like you can play them ADC, but you can also play them in mid, right? So you can flex them. You can flex them per role. Besides them though, I think like Thoth's good, Tiamat's still really good, Kukulkan is still insane. I think Merlin's good, and I also think this is a sleeper pick. This is kind of like a hidden gem pick, but I think Zeus is actually really, really strong. Now, a lot of people can't really pick Zeus. They don't know how to position with him. Shit, I'm terrible with Zeus. But, I mean, listen, if you got a nasty Zeus, now's the time. If you want to carry your rank games, I'm telling you, Zeus is the play. I've seen some really good Zeuses, and that character is hard to beat. His, like, chain damage just feels insane. And he just does a ton of damage. So, I definitely highly suggest that. If you can play Zeus, pick some Zeus. And, of course, like I said, these proc hunters, you can also play in mid, and they're still really, really good. The other character I would also look for in mid is Charon. Benny Q started playing Charon and absolutely just fragged with this character. Then other people start picking up Charon and have also been fragging with him as well in the mid lane. So I do think this character is actually like really strong in the mid lane right now. You could also play him support too, that's completely fine. But I do think like one of his best performing roles unironically is just mid lane. Okay, so for jungle, jungle so jungle actually took like a pretty hard hit this season because again, they removed class passives. And part of the reason why support actually feels a lot better this season is because you feel a lot tankier. You feel a lot tankier in the early game in particular. And part of the reason why is because jungle doesn't have their base flat pen anymore. Like you can get that flat pen a little bit off of yellow totem if you can get it early enough. Like if the RNG from the game allows you to. But you no longer have that early game flat pen, that base flat pen anymore. So jungle kind of took a bit of a hit, but what I would play is like Mammon. I think Mammon's good if you have a good Mammon. I think Merc's really good because, you know, crit got changed. Well, didn't really get changed, but the new Deathbringer glyph makes crit like way more viable now. You can 100% crit chance, so I feel like Mercury abuses the crit really, really well. Crit, I think, is still really good right now. And Wheelix is always frag games. I mean, Wheelix is your late to not late. She's your early to late game like carry assassin. If you can draft like knockups for her and stuff like that, like she'll farm the early game, but to help her out late game, you gotta draft some knockups. But if you can do that, I feel like a Willix definitely hard carries games. Susano's another one of those. Camazotz as well. And then just like mid lane, we have like a hidden gem. Cleo, I think, is a hidden gem. This character, I swear, this character is so hard to play against in ranked. Like when everybody, because you know nobody's in comms, right? Like nobody's like talking to each other and stuff like that. And a lot of people, especially when you're climbing up, like they're not playing around a Cleo. They don't realize like there's a passive that you can see on your status bar that tells you if she's in a wall next to you. They're not thinking about her being in walls, and she just gets all this AoE damage off late game. Like if Cleo hits level 20, again, just like these proc ADCs, she's getting the bluestone procs and all that kind of stuff. I mean, dude, she is farming in every single team fight. But that's if you can play Cleo. Thankfully, I don't really ban her. I don't have her on the bans list because not that many people really play Cleo, like at all. I only see like 1 or 2 or 3 players play her. But when those players are in the queue and they do pick Cleo, I'm banning her the next game because 9 times out of 10 they're just gonna win the game, and these guys are gonna have like 70k plus damage. So I do think Cleo is actually pretty crazy. And also too, Cleo is actually a really good flex pick. You can play her in solo, you can play her in mid. I think one of her best roles actually is in mid, to be honest. But I know Vanania was playing a little bit of Cleo in mid too. But yeah, I mean I think this character is insane, another hidden gem just like Zeus. But you gotta be able to play her. If you can't play her, like it's not gonna work out. She has a different playstyle. Alright, finally, we're getting over to solo. Solo, I think, is actually probably the best role in the game right now. And this role is actually pretty crazy. Oh yeah, my bad. Let me put Thanatos back here in the jungle too. Again, obviously if these aren't getting like, you know, banned out, then just pick them in the jungle. Okay, so we'll put these guys over here. So I think Bologna, Vamana, Osiris, and another little hidden gem, but this time for solo lane, Erlong Shen, all are insane characters right now. Oh, and Bakasura. So these guys would kind of go in the tier of their own in terms of solo lane. I think these 5 are like, if you want to win games and climb and you're a solo main or you're on the solo role, play one of these 5. So these 4 in particular are abusing like, what is it? Warrior's Axe, I believe right now. Not Warrior's Axe. Axe of Animosity. They're abusing Axe of Animosity. You're going like, I'll put the build up on the screen for you guys. But you're going like Xe, Phalanx Shield, like Berserker. You're going Kins as well. So when you hop onto a carry, you're just doing so much damage with Axe of Animosity, with Kins. So it's like you're just doing so much damage, and these characters like are just so good at playing that because these are all auto attack based characters, and on top of that, they're very very tanky. It is really hard to kill, especially in Erlong, dude. So many games have Erlong carried. SOT carried so many games against me and with me too with Erlong. So like this character I think is one of those sleeper picks right now, but you can't go wrong I think with any of these 4. Bake, again, we talked about him earlier. This character is really good in the 1v1. I do think he falls off late game personally, but he is really really hard to fight in solo, and he can like literally just run away with the lead. So when I say he falls off late game, that doesn't mean he's bad late game at all. I just don't think he's as effective as he is in the early game. That's what I mean. But by no means do I think he's a bad late game character at all. Just be wary if you are going to play this character, look and see what kind of CC they have. I mean, if they have a Sobek and stuff like that, you guys got to get beads. All right, I'm so tired of seeing... Actually, I'm not tired of it because I abuse it. But if I'm a support and I see soul laners like Bake that don't get beads late game, I'm just like, dude, I'm just going to farm you, right? I'm going to plug you into my team. I'm going to CC you. And you're not even going to be able to use abilities. So, you know, what's the point of having a lead in the first place? So just, you know, make sure, like, if you have to, get the beads. If not, Thorns is a fantastic relic for solo right now. That's what all these characters are sort of getting, is Thorns if they don't need beads. Surtur, I think, is really strong. Achilles is strong. And then, oh yeah, actually, let me put Gilgamesh sort of in this category. Gilgamesh, so I'll say, like, these, like, 5 characters abuse, you know, that build I was talking about earlier, those items, but I do think Gilgamesh is actually pretty strong right now because he can abuse that build. But yeah, so Surtur, Achilles, and finally, like, I think Wukong's good. So again, for these roles, like, you could pick other characters, of course, to, you know, if you're really good with other characters. Like, for example, Tsukiyomi, I think actually is like super nasty, but a lot of people can't play him that well. I've seen like 2 players like hard carry games with Tsukiyomi, but you could play him in jungle if you want to. I just think that these characters I've seen are the ones that have like really carried games in my games. I've played a lot of games to split so far, so I've like a lot of sort of like data, I guess you could say, to see like who's good and who's not good. And this is pretty much like the list I've comprised who I think is really good and who's not good. So you can take it with a grain of salt, or you could try it out per your respective role. But yeah, guys, that's gonna be the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this tier list, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Peace out.